All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Maloney. I work within the programming department at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. And I want to welcome you all here today on behalf of Tracy Hyder-Suffern, our executive director, and our artistic team of Christian McBride and John Batiste. Welcome to another Crib Notes session that we do here in this period of quarantine, where we invite folks from their homes to share with us music and ideas and thoughts. And today we are very excited to continue our relationship with the Zuckerman Institute at Columbia University, where we get a chance to look at the relationship between music and the brain and brain development and all the interesting bits and pieces that connect our two worlds of music and brain research. So we're going to get started right away. We have a lot of exciting things for you, and participation is always key in these events. So we encourage you to type any questions you might have in the comments. We also encourage you to share or set up a watch party on Facebook if you would. It really helps us get more folks in. So take a minute, share, host a watch party, let folks know. We have some live music and a lot of exciting things that we're going to be hitting on today. We'll get started here. I'm going to bring on our featured guest for the musical component of this. Hang on one second here. One second. We're getting there. Add to stream. All right. So, sorry about that.
Just so for
everyone,
the record.
Yes, Helen. Sorry.
It's okay. Just for the record, it wasn't because I was hiding in my kitchen where the
No,
AC is still. No, I'm just
no, no,
kidding.
not at all. It's funny, like the little window, the little button I needed to click that said add to stream was like off my screen for a minute. I was like, what the heck? Where did it go? We've been doing this all day. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing pianist, composer, band leader, educator, and everything in between, please welcome Helen Sung.
Oh, thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you to the museum. And I'm so pleased to continue this collaboration. As Ryan said, this kind of started when I was lucky enough to be the first jazz artist in residence at the Zuckerman Institute, and met so many amazing people, and this whole curiosity of the science behind music and things artists speak of usually in abstract terms. So it's really an amazing, a very, great learning experience for me. But before we dive into all that, I just thought it would be fun to start off with some music. So as you listen to this, maybe think about your response to it in terms of just how, in terms of the familiarity. If you know the song, does it make a difference to your response? And we're talking about melody today, and you can also maybe observe elements of the melody. So here we go. Thank you again for joining us. Well, thank you.
That was awesome, Helen.
Thank you. And welcome, Dr. Emily Mackevicius from the Zuckerman Institute. And, as I was preparing for this program, I was thinking, what is a good definition of melody? And one that I came across that I liked, it said it's a succession of single notes that is musically satisfying. So I think most of us could agree about the first part. It's a succession of single notes but the musically satisfying part is maybe more open for debate. And I know it's going to be part of what you share with us today and what you've done in your research. So everybody, Dr. Emily.
Hi, thanks, Helen. Yeah, and it's really exciting for me to be here. I guess going back to, so I study birdsong, and one of the reasons why I was interested in birdsong in the first place is because I think creating music is one of the most fun things to do as a person. It connects us with other people. It has all these different aspects to it, and I wanted to see how birds could give a window into understanding how we interact with music. And so I wanted to get into that a little bit in a little bit more detail. I guess I'll start off by saying that a lot of birds learn their song. So songbirds are defined as birds that learn their song, often from their parents or other adults that they're around. And they start off practicing their song similarly to how babies babble, or probably when Helen was first learning to play piano, she didn't sound quite as amazing as we just heard. And birds as well will practice for hours a day and perfect their song. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit about that. But first, we wanted to get into melody. And so maybe we wanted to make this a little bit interactive. And so I wanted to sort of plant the seed of what is a good melody, and to you, what is a good melody? So maybe if you could enter some comments related to that, and then Helen will talk about sort of the origins of melody from the human perspective, and then we'll get back into some bird stuff.
Well, I just love reading and learning about like the science behind art. I think it's such a mysterious connection, because I think people like, artists, we think of it in primarily in spiritual terms or abstract terms. So it's really cool to unpack the neuroscience, because I think the brain is like the final frontier in human research. Maybe it's endless, right? So I was reading yesterday just different things, and because language and music, they're not physical attributes. It's not like there's a fossil record of things. So, but there are other ways, other clues, and we know that making music is something people have been doing a long time. And in fact, this is the oldest surviving manuscript of it's the Mesopotamian system of music, which is unfortunately largely lost to us. It's different from Western European classical music, that system. But this is part of a group of clay tablets called the Hurrian hymns. This particular one is Hurrian number 6, and it's almost complete. It's inscribed in cuneiform, and it contains instructions for a vocalist and the musical, I guess, notes, if you will, for the 6-string lyre. It's also called the samam, and that was what the music of the Mesopotamians was based on. And so because their system of organizing notes and all that, it's different. We don't really know what this sounds like exactly, but as more research has surfaced and, scientists piecing bits and pieces together, because this is from 1400 BC. That's pretty amazing. From northern Syria, present-day northern Syria, from a city called Ugarit, and it was discovered in some caves. But why don't we take a listen? This is like a educated guess of what Hurrian hymn number 6 might have sounded like. Yeah, so to me it sounds old, ancient, almost like closer to the Gregorian chants maybe, but still different. So I think that's just fascinating, that they're, to them, that's how they loved hearing their music, or that's what, I think music made. It's just this what's written for a harvest goddess, Nikai. So I'm sure this was like, they wrote their best efforts and stuff. So moving on from this, I've also, as just through the course of preparing for this program, I'm also really intrigued by the connection between music and language. I just read an NPR piece called Signing, Speaking, Singing, How Language Evolved. And was really interesting. They said humans have a big advantage in that we have language in a very special way, that we're not only able to communicate pieces of information, we're able to share complex ideas and also talk in flexible ways. And I've recently read a book called Sapiens, and this author said, I can't remember his name, but he said the biggest reasons we've been able to evolve into this complex society is we've been able to gossip. Which is like, he's in this NPR piece, they said bees can tell each other how to get to a source of pollen, but that's all they can talk about. They can't talk about, who's hanging out with who, or who's what they plan to do on Saturday. Like humans can say this is an axe, but they can also say, well, if you hold the axe this way, it's much more effective. So another similarity between language and music, as far as I can see, and please, you're the expert, so I'm treading gingerly, is that language, it involves many parts of our brain, like music. And also, it's interesting, I think, in modern humanity, we combine music and words, and sometimes it seems like very innate ways, like how parents talk to their babies, and the sing-song kind of fashion. I also think about the fact that we have music with lyrics, the connection between words that have meaning and sound that we can match to give that meaning. It's fascinating. And then we sing in the shower.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, this interplay between like the meaning and then just the sound and the production. Like in the human brain, there are a few dedicated areas for language, but also there's a lot of areas that are just involved in working together to make your vocal cords move into the right pattern and get the right muscles moving in the right way and get your breathing to be going in the right way. So it's really speaking is a process that involves a lot of different parts of your brain. And one similarity with language and with music is that it's not just about producing it, it's also about hearing it. And it's really important to have a memory of what you've heard before. And so when we speak, we don't just make up a new language each person. We listen to the people around us, and with music as well. Even when we're improvising music, we take aspects of things that we've heard before. And so you need connections between areas of your brain that are responsible for hearing things, auditory areas, and areas of the brain that are responsible for moving your vocal cords and your muscles in the right way to produce those sounds. Or in the piano, it's not your vocal cords, it's your fingers, So yeah, but you need a lot of sort of synergy there to get a feedback signal of what actually sounds good and whether you're doing a good job, which is why you need a lot of practice. And birds actually have, they also have to remember what they heard when they were young, because they can hear a song from their tutor when they were young and then remember that for the rest of their life. And they're not perfect at first. They might take a couple months of practice before they get a perfect imitation, but they're working off just this memory of what their tutor sounded like.
So how did you get interested in bird research?
So I was interested in neuroscience. I guess I was first studying math and I took neuroscience as sort of oh, that would be interesting. And then I just thought it was really, really fascinating to try to understand how the mind works. And then when I went to grad school, I joined the lab of Michael Fee, who was just doing work that I was really excited about learning. And I thought that birds had such cool behaviors like song, that you were able to study in a way that seemed really, really satisfying to me. So
Cool. Cool. Well, I was reading, it said, the same piece said, we see aspects of both language and music in other species. And I don't know if this is, I mean, I love the fairy tales where animals can actually speak, but we don't understand them. Because the way they said it seemed that other species have parts of the whole system that humans have in their using language. For example, some birds can imitate human speech. Some monkeys use specific calls to tell one another whether a predator is a leopard, a snake, or an eagle. Dogs are very good at reading our gestures and tone of voice. And some animals seem to be able to make music. Like they said, some monkeys can recognize dissonant tones. Songbirds use complicated patterns of pitch and rhythm. And as we saw last month in our series, Crib Note series, a few parrots can even dance to a beat. But
yeah,
Dr. Paula said to me about how those are the ones that only the ones that can imitate humans will reproduce human speech or imitate vocalizations. Maybe you can dissect this a little bit more. In your bird research, the connections between communication, the reason behind their song, their language, stuff like that.
yeah. No, I mean, birds and animals in general can do so many different things, and I guess that thing you're referring to with Paula, with what she was saying about how when if you look at which birds are able to actually dance to a piece of music, and this must have been the most entertaining study to do. So if you're just looking at YouTube videos and saying, is the animal actually dancing to the beat, or are they just moving around? And the ones that are actually dancing to the beat, like Snowball the cockatiel, are the ones that are vocal learners. So they are able to imitate their vocalizations. And so that's a cool connection between rhythm and learning.
Yeah.
And then in terms of what animals and birds are able to do, I feel like one impression I've got is that a big limiting factor is just what they want to do. And so there's a lot of cases where animals do really impressive things if you can get them to want to do that thing, but maybe they just don't want to do it. And that's why they're not doing it. And so that's definitely true with song. Like birds produce these really complex vocalizations, and it's because their brains have been wired to want to do that. It feels good to them to sing and to practice for hours every day. And it's not necessarily that they're too dumb to do other things. They just don't really want to, you know. Um,
Well, are
so
all birds songbirds, or all do all birds
no,
have a
so
song?
some birds, so songbirds are birds that learn their song, and like for example, a chicken is not a songbird, and a chicken will make various noises, but these noises don't depend on what the chicken's parents squawked at it. And it's not a song in the sense that it's not a full learned song. So yeah.
And when songbirds, when they sing from day to day, is it the same phrase, or same combination of phrases too?
Yeah, so it really depends on the species, and the species I study. So we can even, I pulled up an example of a zebrafinch song. This is a species that I was studying, and this species of bird really likes consistency, so sings the same thing every day. But some species of birds like to improvise a little bit more. So let's listen to this guy. So these are just calls right now, and then he's going to start singing on this swing.
So cute.
So that's the song. That was the song right there. And in this species, I'm referring to the bird as he because in zebra finches, only the male birds sing.
So unfair.
So unfair, exactly. But in many species, both male and female birds sing. So yeah.
So that fast, that was the song, because he also went cheep,
Exactly.
cheep. Okay. You
Yeah,
know,
cheep, cheep. Those are just sort of contact calls where they're saying hello, hello, hello to each other. And then the song is what
the rapid
they've
fire.
spent so long practicing. And the song is actually used for a number of different things. It's used to attract a mate, and it's also used to defend their territory. They'll sort of have a sing-off with other birds to defend their territory. But then also, sometimes they sing for apparently no reason. It just feels good to them. Dopamine is released by the brain, and they're practicing their song, but there's not a immediate reason for them
Cool.
singing.
Dopamine, that's a word I've become very familiar with talking with Zuckerman scientists. Well, thank you. That's so awesome. You know, and somebody had given me the song of the zebra French all like placed all in a row after each other, and to me it sounded like when the DJs when they scratch on the turntables and stuff.
Yeah. Sounds quite electronic or something.
So
Yeah.
cool. Well, you know, so at the beginning of this program where I played two pieces, two very different pieces. The first one is Jerry Allen's Feed the Fire. The melody is so unique and not what I think most people would say a singable melody, followed by Duke Ellington's Everything But You, which is squarely in the heart of the classic jazz era. So, you know, any comments about how you guys felt when you were hearing one song to the next? We welcome your comments. Also, last month we were talking about rhythm, and rhythm actually is a very important part of melody because melody gives the rhythm gives the melody shape, it gives it form. It because otherwise, I think if you played the melody all in a row with no rhythm, it would sound very different. So why don't we do kind of an experiment in that way? I'm going to play a song with no rhythm, just the notes straight one by one, and let's see if you guys can recognize it. Any brave soul want to venture a guess? Oh, yes, Christine. Dell. I'm super impressed. Okay. Joseph. Man, okay, I made that too easy. Okay. And Tara. Of course, Tara Wright. Tara Wright is always right. Oh my God, Maylise. Okay, let me just play this song. I think y'all all know it. Okay, that was too easy. Here's the next one. Any guesses? Oh man. Did you watch the one we did earlier this month? I'm joking. Joseph Rubino. He got it. Summertime. Here it is with rhythm. Okay, third one. Oops, a little typo near the end, but I played most of it. Any guesses? MJ Torito, yes. Wow, I'm really impressed. Mariko Hiller, yes. Stephanie, ah, very good. Y'all are very impressive. Sam Gilbert, have to give it up to y'all. So I think obviously National Museum Jazz, National Museum of Jazz listeners are definitely the hippest folks in the know. Um, but I hope you could still just get an idea of the feeling of just how much rhythm. It's like the skeleton for a melody. It helps you identify it, gives it character, gives it a vibe. Um, so I was wondering, can we talk about like how this correlates in bird brains and when they learn from their parents? You talked at the beginning of the program how they babble. Like, how do they get from babble to singing these lovely bird songs I hear every morning at 5:30, waking me up every day?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting because rhythm is actually one of the first things that they learn in their babbling. So their babbling starts off completely unstructured, with no rhythm, and then they develop a rhythm, but they're sort of completely messy on the notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll differentiate different notes. So they'll have one note, and then they'll start doing different variations of that one note within the rhythm, and they'll tweak both of them. But rhythm is really the first part of their song to
Well,
emerge.
you mentioned they have a tutor, or
Yeah,
Tutor, which is their dad, because since male birds sing mostly.
yeah, and zebra finches, it's their dad. Yeah.
So do they actually teach them one little, like when the dad teaches them, I'm curious, do they know when the kid is not singing it right? So they just teach little pieces, or do they always sing the whole thing, whole thing, whole thing?
They actually sing the whole thing, and they just sort of sing at their son and expect their son to pick it up. And then it's the young birds that know, like, okay, I need to actually practice, do my exercises, that kind of thing.
So they must hear it all the time, every day, right? Because it's
Yeah, yeah, and they don't actually need to. They have an impressive memory. So if they heard the song and then stopped hearing the song, then they could still learn it if they heard it when they were old enough. And zebra finches, it's about a month and a half old.
really.
Yeah, yeah. But
Do they
yeah.
ever forget their songs, like when they get older, or?
Oh, so that's a really good question. So there are some species that actually they have neurogenesis, which means that they grow new neurons, and they learn so canaries learn a new song every season.
What?
And what happens when they learn a new song and sort of forget the old song is that they have a bunch of cells that just turn over. So some will die and there'll be new cells. So yeah, that's a cool aspect of it. And then there are other species that pick up new things in their environment. So yeah, I mean, I guess I wanted to sort of put it out to the audience of what do you think sounds good to a bird? Do you have any ideas of what sounds good to a bird?
We have for reference Tweety Bird and
Yeah, we have Tweety Bird. We have the one zebra finch, my favorite zebra finch.
Roadrunner.
Yeah. If you were a bird, what would sound good to you? Maybe I have a few more examples, so maybe keep thinking of that question, and then we'll revisit it after playing a few examples. So let's see. So this is a bobolink. I'm going to play its song. And this is a cool, oops, go back. Oh, doing a bad job at these slides. So this bobolink is a really cool bird, not just because it had a cool song there, and you could see it almost dancing a little bit to the song, but also these birds are really impressive migrators. They migrate all the way from South America, and in the course of their life, they will have gone 4 or 5 circumferences of the Earth, if you count the total amount that they have migrated.
Wow.
So that is really impressive. And one of the things helping them do that is they have these sort of special hairs in their nose that have iron in them and can help them sense the magnetic field of the earth.
Oh,
So yeah, they're cool birds, as many birds are.
very pretty too.
Oh, we just got an answer from Beth Gobler saying songs of its own species, which is that's basically the right answer. And so, yeah, and I think each species has its own sense of what sounds good. So for some species, a song of its own species would mean that it's very consistent and the same every time. For some, it would mean that it's really fast. For some, it might mean that it picks up new elements every time. So each species has its own sense of what a good song sounds like. And even within a species, each individual bird will hear the adults in its life and use its experience to make an even more fine-grained judgment of what types of songs it likes. So it's somewhat similar to how how we interact with music, is we have some music that we're familiar with, and we use that as sort of a basis for judging new music. But I think that unlike the zebra finch, who likes to do the same thing every time, people often like new things as well. And one thing I wanted to bring up that's more of a general property of the auditory system in the brain is that you have sometimes neurons fire or get more excited when you hear a familiar sound, but also neurons fire a lot. They get really excited at moments of surprise. So I think this is related somewhat to this concept of what makes a compelling memory, in the sense that you have some degree of familiarity, but you need to balance that out with some degree of surprising elements.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, Beth Galber saying voices with the same timbre as well. Yeah. So I wanted to play a couple more songs. So this is the Canyon Wren. That's a really cool, I like the squawk at the end of it, and it's very fast and trilling down. And this one fun fact about this bird is it lives in canyons and rock faces, and it actually steals insects from spiders' webs.
Look at that beak. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about fine point.
So I guess I just wanted to mostly make the point that different birds have different ideas of what sounds good. It's not like there's one perfect song that all birds are aiming for. It really depends on the species for what they want. So this is a chipping sparrow that has a relatively simple repetitive song, but for the chipping sparrow, this is its perfect song. So, oops, wait. So it's very fast, just repeating the same thing over and over again. Oh, it ran away. And then the last example I wanted to show is of a gray catbird. So these birds are all over the place around here. If you walk in Central Park, you'll see many of them. They have a vocalization like this that sounds like a cat, but this is not actually the catbird's song. This is a call. It's calling out to other birds. And the song it's going to start doing in a bit. And it's really a good improviser. It'll pick up different sounds from its environment. See, it's very complex, has all these different elements that it adds in, and it can go on with this improvised song for as much as 10 minutes. So, yeah.
So cool. It's so funny.
But yeah, if a chipping sparrow sounded like that, then the other chipping sparrows would be would judge it harshly. But for a catbird, this is a great song.
That's so funny that you say improvisation is a big part of its song, because in jazz parlance we call each other cats.
Ah,
He's a
okay.
cool cat, or that's a bad
Yeah.
cat. Oh, that is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, gosh, we are nearing the end. Oh, you wanted to talk about some
Oh
bird
yeah,
song.
just to sort of wrap up the bird section of it, if people are interested in learning more about birds, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has a lot of resources, including the eBird app, and then there have also been a lot of good resources shared on Twitter related to birding while black, and there was recently Black Birding Week. So in terms of specific current things happening in the city, I would check that out as well.
Nice. Thank you. Well, I could talk about this for hours. I mean, just hearing you talk, I love just getting a glimpse of just something I take for granted, just talking, just every single tiny process that goes into that, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of control that goes into it. You don't think
Yeah,
of.
delicate balance and interplay and combinations of learned behavior, memory, and improvisation. It's so cool. Well, my first love is music, so I like to share a song that for me is one of the most beautiful combinations of music and lyrics. And the song is called Here's to Life. And the music is by Artie Butler and lyrics by Phyllis Molinari, and probably made most famous, at least in jazz circles, by the late, great Shirley Horn. So as we have up on the screen now, I want to examine the melody first from a compositional standpoint, because it's always fun to do that. But I always want to remind people, music came first, and theory and analysis came later. But it can be helpful in understanding things. So if you look at the first part, and I realize not all of us read music, but these phrases, they are repeating phrases and they're descending. So we call that sequences. This first part. Listen. So a lot of notes, but it actually doesn't travel that far. It starts at the first note and ends down at this note, which is not that far. It's actually in technical music terms, it's a perfect fourth. So there's for me, that builds energy, it builds tension, it builds anticipation and suspense, and it's repeated. And you'll be able to hear it through, so just take my word for it for now. But then the second part of the melody, it kind of breaks the bounds of this kind of not restrictive, but just tight boundaries. This again. And then it breaks, and it's just like it breaks open into what we call an octave, which I think, we're talking about meaning. There's a lot of power in that. And so let's hear, we have a very special guest who's going to, I will introduce to you in a minute, but she's going to play this on flute. And so you'll hear, so listen to how the first part repeats, and it's a lot of activity, but within tight boundaries. And then it's balanced by this section where the melody just kind of soars. And I think the energy from that comes from the anticipation and the suspense that was built in the first part. And I think it's just beautifully balanced. So here we go. Oh, yeah. I don't hear it.
About this. I'm going to start it from the beginning. All right.
This section is repeated. And then the melody soars. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm yes, thank you. Here are the lyrics, which I think they're beautiful. And I've read some writers say that this is like someone who's at the end of their life, but thinking about these thoughts. But I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's just a celebration of life, which I think we need to do more so even, in our present day. And I just love these words. So I'm just going to play the song through and you guys can follow along with the lyrics. And here we go to Here's to Life. So just amazing piece of music. And so as I promised before, you heard her lovely flute in the slide before, and she also happens to be the scientific director of this series, and I'm just so pleased to be able to collaborate with Dr. Paula Croxon. Can we welcome her to the screen? There she is.
Hi, everybody.
Multi-talented. So I think you play other instruments too, right? Or is it the flute?
No, no. I mean, I play a mean tambourine. That's not that
Awesome. Well, you play chamber music, you said growing up in your family, which I think is so cool.
That's right. Yeah, I played chamber music. I played in orchestras, and when I moved to New York, I started playing in a rock band.
Oh, neat. Hey, and she does storytelling besides her research was in memory, and now she runs was it community programming or outreach at the Zuckerman Institute?
Yeah, that's right. I run the public programs at the Zuckerman Institute, so I get to combine all of my loves, the science and the arts, and education, and all sorts of great things.
Well, I want to thank you for playing the, right now it's summer and it's hot and we can't use our air conditioning when we record these things and then we have fireworks going on at night too. So we both managed to find some time. And this is our just love letter just for music and science to all of you. We have the lyrics and stuff. So if you want to sing with us, here's to life just as an affirmation of just humanity and just the beautiful things of science and music and our community as a human beings, a species. We welcome you. So let's check this out, starring Dr. Paula Croxon and me on Here's to Life. I don't hear it. Uh-oh, still no sound. I want to hear Paula's flute.
Can you hear me talking at all, or can you?
I hear you talking.
Oh, but you can't hear the video?
There we go. There it goes.
Okay.
I think you might need to be on screen for some reason, because that happened before.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna start it from the beginning again.
Okay. Everybody, warm up your throats. Okay.
Ah.
Oh, there's two of me. How did that happen? We got to figure. Okay. Anyway.
We can never have too many of you.
Well, thank you both to these wonderful scientists of the Zuckerman Institute for joining us today and helping me present this program, and also to Ryan Maloney and his team over at the museum. And shall we welcome Ryan back on screen?
I'm here.
Ryan. Thank you so much, Helen.
Yeah, thank you.
For an amazing, I don't know, performance, I guess, of science and music, a celebration of science and music.
Yeah, we learn something new every month, and the hope and the goal is that we'll be back in July. We're ironing out those details, but if you do enjoy this type of programming, we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter on the National Jazz Museum in Harlem website. jmih.org. You can sign up for our newsletter. If there is an opportunity, if you really like what we're doing and you're interested in supporting us, pretty easy to do. You can text the word jazz to the number 41444, or go right to our website, and there's an easy way to donate right on there. We've continued to try to keep our programming going strong throughout the quarantine, and we're just starting to hear whispers of what programming back at the museum might look like as we look ahead to the fall. But until then, we will continue to work with great partners like we have here today, and continue to bring you music and new ways to think about music. So Helen, Emily, Paula, thank you very, very much. A lot of work goes into these, and we're glad that you guys are able to be a part of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem family. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you. And
Thank
thank
you
you for joining us today.
Yes.
All right, everybody, take care. Have a great rest of the day, and stay tuned. This evening, if you're around, we have another program that we'll be streaming on Facebook. Mr. VJ Iyer will be joining us along with Tamika Reed to talk and play a little bit for you. So we hope to have you guys back this evening. All right, Paula, good to have you. Helen, good to have you. Emily, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.